when is baby number 2? When and how did Zach and I meet? How many kids do I want? How do I balance being a mom and running my platforms? Hey guys, hello. I don't even know what to say. Like, am I supposed to say welcome back to my channel? It's gonna be something and I feel like I have to get used to a little bit. But today I think I'm gonna do a Q&A with you guys. I put a question box up on my Instagram story a few days ago and asked you guys to ask me just like anything you want to know about me. And I got a lot of good questions, some juicy, some not. So I feel like it would be a good introduction so that like you guys can like get to know me a little bit better, more on like a personal level, and just like we can actually talk instead of having like just 10 minutes on TikTok or anything like that. I feel like a lot of you guys are coming over from TikTok and Instagram. So hello, welcome back essentially. But let's get into some of these questions. My sister is sitting in the corner back there and she made me an electrolyte water, but she forgot ice, and I feel like that's very criminal. Anybody knows that a drink needs to have like ice and then some? I shouldn't have to ask for ice. Question number one that I got. I have every like my most commonly asked questions written down right here. But question number one, I got asked about 15 times on my like question poll thingy, is when is baby number 2, which I find a little bit funny because I'm literally only 7 months postpartum and I feel like I popped Ripley out like yesterday, and I finally feel like I'm at the point where I'm kind of getting my pink back, if that's like what you want to call it. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea when baby number 2 is coming. Before I had Ripley, I was confident that I was going to have 2 under 2. I was like, I want 2 under 2. Like, I want them to be close in age. But to be completely transparent with you guys, after Ripley was born, my like work and social media and everything, I don't know why I did that because whatever. My work and social media really took a 180, and I wasn't like expecting everything that has had happened so far, and like opportunities, working with brands, my audience really growing, creating like such a loving and positive community on TikTok. I wasn't expecting it to happen at like a rapid pace. Obviously, I'm not like some huge content creator, but I was growing at a much faster pace than I was ever before. Like, I was gaining like 1,000 followers a day for like a few weeks at one point, which for me is fast because previously I was gaining maybe like 25 followers a day or anything like that. So my platform was growing really quickly. And so with that, and then also having a newborn baby and just a baby in general, I'm really trying to find the balance between work and motherhood, because now something that was a hobby for me, like content creation and posting on TikTok, has now turned into a full-time job. And it kind of happened like almost overnight, which is, I'm obviously so grateful and so blessed because I truly like love it so much. So to be able to call content creation my job is just like an actual dream. And yeah, so I'm trying to balance those out right now, and I don't want to strip myself too thin with putting the pressure of having like 2 under 2. Like, I feel like it's very, you see it like, it's almost like people like pressure you to have 2 under 2, like especially on social media. And I don't want to fall into the pressure just because that's like what people think you should do, like to have kids close in age and all of that. So I'm really trying to just kind of figure that out right now. Like, do I really want to have 2 under 2 and like have like put another load onto my plate, or do I want to really kind of like go tunnel vision on my work and also like give my full attention to Ripley, because I feel like I'm already struggling to like find the time to get my work done. Like, for example, my sister's sitting in the corner right now, but she comes over a few times a week or whenever she has off of school to like help me so that I can film things for collabs or like batch content for collabs or things like that, because I don't like to be on my phone when Ripley's awake. So, and sometimes I have to be, like, sometimes I have to get work done and there's gonna be times where he's on, or it's during his wake window and I have to edit something real quick. And it takes me like 20 minutes during his wake window. I don't like to do it often, but it happens sometimes. And even during that, I feel guilty. So this is like a long story, kind of like, this is like a lot of information for like when is baby number 2. But basically, like, I already feel guilty for being on my phone in front of Ripley sometimes. And so I couldn't like imagine being able to do work, take care of Ripley, and then also be pregnant right now, if that makes sense. So literally no idea when baby number 2 is happening. Yeah, it's like not even like a thought in my brain right now. So okay, question number 2 is when and how did Zach and I meet? So Zach and I knew each other a little bit growing up because him and my brother were on the same sports teams. So whenever I went to go watch my brother's like games, I would always see Zach and thought that he was like the cutest out of my brother's friends. Like my older brother, Zach is a little bit older than me. And so I always thought he was cute. And then I was on the track team in high school, and it was actually Zach's first year joining the track team, and he would always try and partner up with me, like be my partner for like races. He was always trying to like stretch with me, things like that, and be around me like during track practice. And then one day I was walking out, my mom was picking me up from track practice, and Zach had just or Zach was about to get his license, and he said something along the lines of, when I get my license, like, are you gonna let me drive you home? And I like immediately got butterflies. Like a sophomore in high school, like who like obviously, or I think I was a freshman, I don't know, that's immediately gonna give you butterflies. And I was just like, oh my god, like this guy's like actually interested in me. But Zach had a really big afro, like super windy long curly curls, and so I actually liked his personality before like I liked his looks, which I think is great. But then one day he showed up to track practice with his hair cut and all like fresh and clean, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, are you actually kidding me? And so yeah, basically track practice. And then that summer he would like try and show up wherever I was at, like whatever friend's house I was at, he would try and show up there and like hang out like in the group that I was with. And so I don't want to say he was like stalking me because that sounds like bad, but like he would try to just like be around me, like in like ways where like I don't know, he would just always try and be around me. And so then that next following like fall, we obviously hung out a lot during that summer. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and yeah, it's like a lot. It's been like so crazy. It's been like almost 9 years. We've been talking for 10 years. Like we talked for a long time before we actually started to like date. So yeah, and now we have a baby, which is really, really wild. So yeah, he's literally like my best friend in the entire world. There is nobody greater than him. But yeah, that's how we met. That's kind of our story. Besides my sister, she's also my best friend and the greatest person I've ever met. Another commonly asked question was, how many kids do I want? I could picture myself having anywhere between 4 to 6. I grew up with a really big family. Like I have 10 siblings. I'm one of 11, 9 brothers, 1 sister. That's a little backstory like on my family. And Zach has 2 siblings. So he grew up with a little bit of a smaller family, but Zach wants like 6 kids, I would say. And he would probably have more. Obviously it depends on like how we are like financially doing in the future, and if we want more kids like after 6 and everything. But I think Zach being around my younger siblings for the past 10 years and my big family, he like truly loves it, and he thinks it's like so fun, and we both think that like kids are like God's biggest blessing. So obviously, God willing, I want to have more kids, obviously. But I think anywhere between 4 to 6. So when we hit 4, obviously I'll ask myself that question, do I want another one? But I don't think I'm gonna want more than 6. Like I don't want a super big family, because I also feel like I want to be done having kids by the time I'm like 33 latest. Like as long as like I'm able to like continue having kids kind of like, I don't know, in God's timing and like pretty easily. Well, you just never know, but like I kind of want to be done having kids by the time I'm 33, 32, so we will see. But yeah, I would say like 4 to 6. Okay, I got asked like 100 times what my age is because one day somebody asked me on my Instagram how old I was, and I responded and said I'm 18, because technically you're not supposed to ask somebody how old they are. So I was joking back and said I was 18, and everybody believed that I was 18 years old. People were like, you're so mature for being 18 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys, it was literally like satire, it was a joke. I'm not 18. I am 23 years old. My birthday is June 21st. It's the first day of summer, but I am not 18, for everybody wondering about my age. I got a few questions. Somebody asked, how do I balance being a mom and running my platforms? So luckily, I have been doing content creation long before being a mom. So I kind of know the process of like editing, filming, all of that. All of that stuff comes very easy to me because I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. And so when I had Ripley, I knew I wanted to document my postpartum experience as much as I can. And to be honest, documenting it is not the hard part because you literally set up your camera, you press play, and you stop the button whenever you want it to be stopped, and you take your tripod around with you and film your day. It's so easy. And then I typically do a lot of my editing during nap times or when I'm nursing Ripley or after Ripley goes down to sleep at night, and a lot on the weekends. So that's kind of how I balance it, because like I said before, I don't really like to be on my phone when Ripley's awake. So I try and do my best with that. But yeah, I have a very creative brain. So my mind is constantly 24/7 thinking about like ideas, content. It's running wild with like things that like I can create because I truly love it so much. But that's kind of how I balance it. Is I also get a ton of help from my husband when he gets home from work. He totally understands like my job and everything. So he knows that there are gonna be times where, oh, he has to do bath time so that I can go get some work done, or he has to put the baby down to sleep because I have to edit or something like that, or finalize things for some brands, or like on the weekends. He's a great help because that's when I like to get a lot of my brand content done because it's a little bit harder during the week. Or for example, my sister will come over on the days that she doesn't have school, and she'll also help out with that as well, which is amazing because it's like even today, like I had to film for 2 brands, and she helped like kind of watch Ripley and everything while I was able to do that.
Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, she's sitting in the corner of that room right now. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I balance it. I get help from my sister, great help from my husband, and I just try and like prioritize my time the best. I think you can literally do anything you want as long as you prioritize your time. Like when Ripley's asleep, I like sometimes will catch myself like scrolling on TikTok, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I have so much to do right now, and I will literally get off, go edit my stuff, go film whatever I gotta film, like whatever I like try and prioritize my time the best. And I also am a planner. I'm a to-do list girly. I like to start my day with a to-do list, and I like to check things off as I go because it keeps me so much more organized, which I can talk more about with you guys if you want. But yeah, a few questions on whether or not I will be homeschooling Ripley, and yes, I will be homeschooling Ripley. I don't know how long I will homeschool him for. I would like to homeschool him all the way up until grade school, but he will also like partake in a forest school. So actually my sister-in-law takes her son, which is my nephew, to a forest school where basically it's an outdoor school all year round, and they are outdoors, socializing with a bunch of other kids, teachers, doing activities outside. Like they're never stuck indoor, sitting at a desk and like listening to a teacher like all day long. Like they're doing activities and meeting new people, playing with animals. Like my nephew is always playing with like chickens or like things like that, or he's playing in the mud, in the dirt. And yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something that we do with Ripley and all of my babies. And then obviously for homeschooling, there's going to come to a point where I can't teach him like certain things that like he would typically learn in school. So he'd probably join a program or anything like that, where he would just like hop on and do a little bit of school during the day. But yeah, I definitely don't want to put my son in a classroom for 6 to 7 hours a day and make him sit at the desk and listen to a teacher. That's just like not something that I enjoyed at all growing up. So if I have the opportunity to like change that for him, I'm definitely going to. And I think that yeah, I just like that's something that we prefer to do with our family. So I'm really excited to like start that as he gets older and everything, and like take you guys along with that journey. But yeah. Okay, I got like 10 questions asking about my birth story, which I did share in my TikTok. I'm sure if you searched Phoebe Stock's birth story, it will come up. But my birth story was actually crazy. It went completely like not south, but I had a birth plan. And if you've been following me on my social medias for a while, you would know that my birth plan was that I wanted to give birth unmedicated. I did not want an epidural. I did not want to be induced. I did not want Pitocin. And literally all of that happened. the day that I woke up, that I went into labor, I woke up pretty sick. I ended up going to my mom's house because I wasn't feeling good and I was like a little bit nervous and everything. And we were walking around town and everything. And I started to not feel good. And I started to have contractions that were like a minute and 20 seconds apart, consistent for an hour. And I was at that point trying to tell my mom that I want to labor at your house. I don't want to be stuck in the hospital. Like, I wanted to labor at home as long as I possibly could. But my mom was like, you are getting in the car and I am taking you to the hospital right now. But we ended up calling my husband home from work, met me at my parents' house, and my mom and my husband we drove to the hospital. And when I went to go check to see how dilated I was only dilated at 3. So I wasn't in active labor, but I was in excruciating pain, like hip pain, back pain, everything. So I knew something was wrong, something was not right. And I kept telling the doctors, I'm not going home, because for a quick second, they're like, okay, like you can go home. And I'm like, I can't, like I'm in excruciating pain. Like if I go home, I think I literally I was in so much pain. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna run some tests, see what's going on. Sure enough, test came back. I had a virus and 102-degree fever, which we already knew I had a fever because they checked my vitals right when I got there. But I did have a virus that my body was fighting. And a few hours later, I actually ended up started dilating to a 5, and so they brought me up to labor delivery room. And at that point, Ripley's heart rate kept dropping a little bit unexpectedly, and so they were tossing me, they were turning me and everything. And after about an hour, his heart rate was still dropping, which was a little bit concerning for me. Obviously, as a first-time mom, just like what the heck's going on? And so they finally came in the room, and we talked about breaking my water and putting me on Pitocin to move up the process, speed it up a little bit. Let's get this baby out. Like, what's going on? And so at that point, I just was like, okay, like I'm okay with that. Let's break my water and let's do Pitocin to start getting these contractions moving along and everything. And at that point, I didn't have an epidural. But when they broke my water, oh my God, when they broke my water and I started having those Pitocin contractions, I literally thought that was the end of me. Pitocin contractions, no wonder nobody wants Pitocin, because that was so painful. And my husband knew I did not want an epidural, and I told my husband to not bring up the word epidural until I brought it up to him. And I remember looking him in the eyes during the middle of a contraction, so stiff, I couldn't move my body. Like, I was in agony, telling him like, can I do it? Can I get the epidural? Like I want the epidural, telling him. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna get you the epidural. And sure enough, the doctors came in 15 minutes later, got me on the epidural. And then we ended up, once you get the epidural, you're supposed to kind of start to be able to like rest a little bit, but Ripley's heart rate kept on dropping, which was really scaring me. And Zach ended up falling asleep. I was awake because the nurses were coming in every 20 minutes to flip my body. And then at one point I fell asleep and a bunch of nurses ended up rushing into the room, and Zach was still asleep. I woke up because they started to like move me around and everything. I had the epidural, so they had to move me. And they started talking to me about C-section and everything, because his heart rate dropped really like a lot really quickly and it wasn't coming back up. And so they were prepping me for C-section talk. And I was just like, and I was not waking up Zach because I didn't want to scare him. So Zach woke up in the middle of it. He's like, what's going on? And obviously came rushing over to me, and they were like talking about C-section, and because his heart rate was not coming back up. And so I was like, is there anything that we can do to like avoid this? Like, please, like, can we try one last thing? And so luckily they listened to me, and they ended up putting me on a peanut ball on my stomach. So I was like in cat dog position, and they put the peanut ball underneath me, and I had to stay in that position until I was ready to push. His heart rate came back up almost immediately. And so I did not need to get the C-section. I pushed for about 40 minutes, felt like 5, and he was earthside, and literally 5 minutes after he came out, I was breastfeeding him. But yeah, that was like my birth plan. Totally did not go how I expected it to go. Very grateful for the epidural because I was in excruciating pain. But yeah, that's my birth story. All right, last question. Somebody asked, did I have any postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression? I didn't have any PPD, but I definitely had postpartum anxiety. For some reason, obviously my hormones, I think. When Ripley was born, I could not handle other people like wanting to visit and also wanting to hold the baby. Certain people I felt very comfortable with, other people I did not. And like, I don't even know how to describe the feeling. I know a ton of moms relate to this because I talked about it on my TikTok and so many people related to this feeling. But it was almost just like weirdly, really weird for me because I carried him and grew him and kept him safe and secure for 9 months. And then when he comes out, I meet him for the very first time, but then I have other people blowing up me and my husband's phone, wanting to visit, wanting to come over, wanting to hold him, wanting to meet him. But I am like his mother, and I was also meeting him and holding him and loving him for the first time. And so it was weird to have a lot of people like wanting to see him and hold him and ask to hold him because when he those first 2 months I just wanted to hold him. Obviously I felt completely fine when Zach held him, but those first few months I didn't want to pass him around. I didn't want anybody holding him. um it made me like sick to my stomach. It was something I really struggled with. Now I'm better. I'm totally fine. I really do think that it was postpartum hormones and being a first time mom and just being super scared. But yeah, it was like such a crazy feeling. I like, even when people were like, okay, like we're coming over today, it would give me intense anxiety and almost made me sick to my stomach. Just knowing that people were gonna be over and I had to hand him over. I didn't have to, but like when it's family and everything like that, it's like, yeah, like they want to hold him too. And I kept like reassuring myself, like, it's okay, like it's fine. Like I had to like sometimes click back to like myself and be like, Phoebe, it's okay. And I knew it was okay. It was just such a weird feeling, of other people wanting to hold him and I just was not ready to share him. um yeah, so crazy. So I definitely had postpartum anxiety for about 3 months, and now I'm like 7 months postpartum. I'm like completely fine now. People want to come over, hold him, all of that. I'm totally okay with that. I think it was just like first time mom jitters. But yeah. Okay, this is actually the last question. Somebody asked, how did you know you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and did you know you were going to be a stay-at-home mom? So yeah, I knew even before Ripley, even before I was pregnant, I was going to be a stay-at-home mom because that was a deciding factor, whether or not Zach and I could start a family, like with Ripley and everything. Like that was something, like I knew I did not want to go back to work anywhere. If I was going to get pregnant and have a baby. So once Zach and I were able to finally make a decision on, okay, I can stay home if I were to get pregnant right now and have a baby, that was kind of like, okay, yes, let's start our family, all of that jazz. Like, let's start trying. Because we were at a point where I would be able to stay at home. I would not have gotten pregnant if I would not be able to stay at home with my baby. So I knew that I wanted to stay at home with him. I also grew up with a stay-at-home mom, and watching her, like when I was little, take care of all of us, I fell in love with that so much. I like adored watching her like take care of all the babies and all of that. And I also helped her a lot too. And I just love babies. I just knew that I was not going to be able to leave Ripley, and like go back to work anywhere if I had to. So yeah, I knew I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. Pretty much my entire life. Anyways, Ripley is currently waking up, so that's gonna wrap up my Q&A today. I don't even know what to say. Do I say like, comment, and subscribe? Like, go follow my other channels, my TikTok, my Instagram. I don't know. We will figure it out together, but thank you for joining me today.